Hey guys, it is time for the first live stream I have ever done. So it's time to have some fun tonight, and I hope that some folks have tuned in and maybe have some questions for me while I get started writing. You might hear a little bit of meowing in the background. That will be my fuzzy roommate, the Miss Katie the House Panther, who happens to be my mascot. And if you subscribe to my Patreon, you will be able to get one or two pictures of her every month as part of your rewards package. So, anyway, I tonight I'm going to be restarting the drafting process for a book that I've been trying to write for quite some time. It's called Epsilon Redeemer. It is a sequel to 2011's Epsilon Broken Stars, which that too took a very, very long time to write. So, hopefully, this will be the last time I have to circle back and start writing this again, but let's see what happens from here. I'm actually really excited to get started with this again. Yes, Katie, hello. Absolutely. I obviously have a very talkative cat tonight, and I'm sorry I'm rambling a little bit. I'm trying to get some notes cracked open here because I was silly and didn't open them before I got started. So here we go. With no further ado, I'm going to kick over to the regular live stream page from my opening banner here, and you will be able to see my lovely writing screen. And we will go ahead and get started here. So, part of the reason why I keep starting this and restarting this is because I can't seem to find the best possible place to start it. I think I've finally figured out what it might be, but we'll see about that. We'll see if I'm right in this case. So, yeah, that, as they say, is that. Let's go ahead and get started. You might notice that this section is coming pretty quickly. That's because I am lifting quite a bit of it from a previous draft. It just seems like a better place to start with the action of the series. This is actually set, this particular scene will actually take place probably 2 to 3 years after the end of Broken Stars. So we'll be going back and backfilling at some point some of the storylines, so you know what happens in those intervening years between the time that Aaron Taylor leaves, called in to go on his recruiting and supply run, and this scene where he is laying with his head in Renegade's lap, possibly dying in the alleyway next to the now exploded Alliance post in the city. if you do ask questions in chat, I will probably answer them verbally because it's easier that way. And if you have joined me from Facebook, Patreon, or from Discord, I am happy to have you on the stream tonight. So, welcome aboard. We are telling the story of Lucas Ross, Renegade, and Will Terrell, aka Erin Taylor, tonight in the beginning of the redraft of Epsilon Redeemer, set in the 2160s, out in the middle of space. Woohoo! Yay, Colony Worlds. All right, back to it. I had to deal with a meow for a second here. It's important to note at this point that Ren shouldn't know his real name. She is, well, we'll get to that. Obviously, for me, there is not a lot of talking here because I am trying to concentrate on actually writing. Sometimes I can type and talk at the same time. Other times it's not so easy. I do try, but like I said, it's harder than it looks to do that kind of thing. And since there's no questions popping in the chats right now, I'm just going to get back to it. So, some fun background here on Calden. It's one of the border worlds, which is a place where we have a bunch of planets who are basically existing independently of both the Epsilon Alliance and what was used to be called the Earth Federation. It is now called the Imperium because reasons. Um, Basically, there was a big war and some changes of power, and EFED is no longer the shining beacon of hope it once was, or the symbol of tolerance that it once was. It's actually really interesting when I came up with the whole concept years and years ago now. The the changes in EFED are based in fear, and it's in Redeemer that we start to see what that fear is, and we'll also see it in further books because that actually becomes very, very important, especially for the story of these particular characters, Luke, Will slash Erin Taylor, and Renegade, who is also known as Karen Flannery, Erin Taylor's longtime partner with the Epsilon Alliance's Spec Ops Force. So I hope everyone is enjoying my premiere live stream of my writing. Tonight we are looking at Epsilon Redeemer, the I'm sorry to say the fourth draft of at least the very beginning of this, but this is drawn from a previous draft. This section is actually being rewritten from a scene that took place in draft two, which happened to be a scene that I was actually pretty happy with. Um, and it seems like starting at a different point in the book is probably where I really want to be. Starting at a different point in the story is really where I want to be. And I had that problem too with when I was writing Broken Stars, trying to figure out where exactly I should start in the story. And it took quite a few drafts of that to finally get to the point where I was like, okay, this is actually the story I need to be telling. This is this point that I actually need to be starting. And then by the time I had figured that part out, everything pretty much fell into place pretty quickly from there, which was good. I was really happy with that, and it actually ended up being the first full-length manuscript that I published. There were a couple of shorter pieces before that, but Broken Stars was the first full novel-length thing that I released, and it's available now in ebook form as well as in print. And now the word that I can never spell despite the fact that I write it all the time. True story, I learned to spell because I hate spell check. I will probably be posting the full entirety of the updated first chapter to my Patreon and possibly a couple of other outlets once it's complete. I might not stream the whole thing, but we'll see what happens since we're already past the half-hour mark at this point. Excuse me, sorry. It's a Russian accent, by the way, just in case you couldn't guess. Lucas Ross actually comes from California, and Alexei obviously comes from Russia. They're both from Earth, and grew up as part of Imperium Society, I guess is probably the best way to put it. Lucas Ross was trained as a combat medic and surgeon by the Imperium military, and Alexei was trained as a spy and assassin by the same military organization. The the cathedral and Father Alex, as well as other figures of the faith, capital F, have been actually really important to the resistance over the course of the past several years by this time in the story. They've served as safe havens um, and as places and people that the reliance has been that the resistance has been able to depend on to help them in tight spots, especially on worlds where the Imperium has taken control. Resistance members have been able to rely on clergy of the faith and adherents to the faith to help them get to safety, in essence. Father Alex is actually kind of special, but we'll reveal that a little bit later on. I think that's probably going to be the end of the first chapter. And I want to thank everyone for coming through and joining me tonight on my first live stream of my writing. Tonight, again, we were looking at the beginning of Epsilon Redeemer, the fourth draft. Hopefully, it will be the final draft, but we'll see. Again, thanks for joining me tonight. Make sure that you check out my Patreon, and I will see you again soon. Have a great night.